If you listened to my last solo episode, you probably heard when I talked about mutation not happening between 2020 and 2024 because I was in a relationship. Well, that's technically not true. It wasn't because I was in a relationship. It was because I had other priorities at the time. I know I'm often the person that tells you, go and do it, go and do it, go and do it. If you have an idea, go and execute on it. What if you start and fail? What if you tried something and it actually doesn't work out how you planned? So, in today's episode, I'll be telling you the story of 3 times I started and failed. Hi, I'm God's Delight Agu, and this is the Owning It podcast. Being a woman is hard enough, but being a woman in Africa, even harder. You're expected to be a good daughter, a good wife, a good mother, and still slay in your career. There are expectations from everywhere: family, friends, culture, society, religion, the list goes on. And every day we face challenges: physical, emotional, financial, and even professional. Sometimes you stop and wonder, is all of this even worth it? Owning It is a podcast where African women tell unfiltered stories of resilience, healing, and truth in their own words. We're here to help women own their stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly. As a storyteller and lover of stories myself, I'll be inviting some of my female friends and women I deeply admire. Together, we'll laugh, cry, unlearn, and grow as they share the battles they fought, the boldness it took to become who they are. If you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or unworthy, this space is for you. New episodes drop every Wednesday, so be sure to subscribe and join the conversation every week. Like Michelle Obama once said, your story is what you have, what you always have. It is something to own. So let's own it together. Welcome to the Owning It podcast. So the very first online community I started was called Figure 8 Connect. And I founded it in October 2020. The first event I hosted under the umbrella of Figure 8 Connect was actually Shikan E-Conference, which was a 3-day conference or virtual class dedicated to women, focused on how to heal from rape and sexual abuse experiences. The class was held from the 9th to 11th of October 2020. So it was in commemoration of Mental Health Day, which is the 10th of October, and International Day of the Girl Child, which is the 11th of October. It happened in a closed WhatsApp group. And this was inspired by the words of Michelle Obama in her book Becoming, which is, your story is what you have, what you always have. It is something to own. So let me take a step back to how it all began, right? Let me take a step back to few months before October. What had happened? What had led me to that point to want to host an event focused on that? So, for most of you who might be listening, I know I've mentioned this a couple of times here and there, but I was sexually abused as a child. From age 4, I had started experiencing sexual abuse, and that experience was the beginning of my consciousness basically in life. So it formed the foundation for most of the things I would go on to do, because having that sort of experience as a child breaks you, and trying to become a teenager, trying to become an adult, just trying to outgrow that, trying to heal from that pain, it is a whole lot. Now, in the process of trying to heal from that pain, at first, when something like that happens to you, you're always thinking, oh, I'm the only person who has experienced this. No other person in the world has been sexually abused. But this is not true. This is actually not true. There are so many people that have experienced sexual abuse. There are so many people that are still experiencing sexual abuse. There are people who are being raped on a daily basis. And all of these people need to find healing. In 2020, I and my ex-boyfriend, so at that time we're still friends, beginning of 2020. So he called me on the 1st of January 2020, and we got on a very long call. I remember very well that I was in my village in Amokwite on my in my parents' room on the bed when I was on that long call. And one of the things we talked about was the fact that we didn't just want to focus only on school books. We didn't just want to focus only on school books in this new year, that we also wanted to read other texts. Okay. So when we agreed that, we decided to get on a challenge where we will read one book every week, and we called this project, okay, I called this project Read 54. Read 53 at the time, I guess, or Read 52. I can't even remember. But I shall know that there are 52 weeks in the year. I think it was Project Read 52 at the beginning. But then when we wanted to like make it bigger, it became Project Read 54, because we're trying to be like, okay, who wants the 54 countries in Africa to, I mean, talking about this now made me realize that it's actually not just 3 projects that I've started and I did not complete. Because thinking about Project Reach 54, there's also a project I started and didn't complete. But anyway, that's story for another day. The focus of this chat is on Figure 8 Connect. So we started reading books. The goal was to read a book every week. And I read a couple of books. I read Smart Money Woman. I read, I'm trying to remember most of the books I read that year. But one thing I did was, for every book I read, I would just go on Facebook and write a really inspiring book review and encourage people to read. And then people would come into my DM and ask me if I had the soft copy of those books. And I shared those with them as well. Okay. In that time, that was when I read the book Becoming by Michelle Obama. And then when I read Becoming, just at the beginning part of the book, Michelle Obama talked about something, and this statement stuck with me till now. That your story is what you have, what you will always have. It is something to own. So that was how the whole concept of owning it became a thing in my life. Like, that was the beginning of owning it. That was the beginning of owning it for me. So a couple of months after, I think it was in April, in the heat of the pandemic, there was this Facebook group I was a part of, Female In. It had millions of members, right? It was dedicated to women, and women used to share their stories on that platform. Shout out to the founder of that group. That group was such a supportive place, and I think it still exists, but I'm not so active, so I wouldn't know. But I noticed something at that time, that a lot of women kept on sharing stories of rape, of abuse, of rape, it was the heat of the pandemic. People were locked down. People kept on sharing these stories, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And one day, something whispered to me, why don't you share your own story? I was like, Because up till that time, okay, I talked about the fact that I've been sexually abused a couple of times in small spaces. I talked about it at Big Sister Preneur in 2018, which was a boot camp I had attended, hosted by Nora Omusaya. Shout out to her. Very amazing, award-winning fashion designer. She's such an awesome woman. And I talked about it, and the response was very supportive. So and in that room were like, how many ladies? We're all teenage girls, and then our big sisters. So nothing really serious. But talking about my sexual abuse experience on a huge platform as Finn, I fought with that idea. But eventually, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just write about it. So I wrote about it. I posted it. It got approved. And in 4 hours, my Facebook was crashing. People were sending me message requests. People were sending me friend requests. People were oh my God, different women from that group. And the recurring question was, how did you heal? How did you heal? How did you heal? So I had conversations with a couple of these women. And by God's grace, a lot of these women are still my friends till today. So they were telling me how they too were victims of sexual abuse, how they were abused as children, how they had not talked to anyone about it, and me coming to talk about it openly. They are wondering how was I able to heal. I was like, oh my God. So most of that time, every night, I would be doing unofficial therapy sessions with these women. And at the end of the day, I came up with something called the 7-step formula to healing. And one of the steps in the 7-step formula, I think is actually the first step in the 7-step formula to healing, is owning it. So it's been a very long year of me having these conversations with these women. So in order to me talking with this, interacting with these women led me to writing the book, Owning It. So you can see that the whole concept of owning it did not start today. So I had an event called Owning It. I had a book I wrote, which was focused on the lives of 3 women who had been abused sexually as children and how it impacted them as adult women. So that was what the book Owning It was focused on. And I just decided, you know what, let's have a virtual event because it was the COVID year, obviously. All these other years, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, all the things I've ever done are like physical, in person. So I was like, let's host a virtual event, and it's strictly for females, and we'll be talking about how to heal from rape and sexual abuse. So I put together my speakers list. I reached out to some of the women whose stories had inspired me. I invited Mommy Chinwe Joyce Akubeze. I invited Nora Onsa. I already mentioned Nora. I invited my mama Onyechinwosu. You've heard her speak on the podcast. I invited Dorothy, a team edit. Dorothy will also be on the podcast. I invited Chidima Kalu Green. I invited myself. Okay, so we had about 6 women who were speaking on the subject of. Okay, yes, I forgot to mention, I also invited Dr. Ezine Nnamdi Lewis. So Dr. Ezine Nnamdi is a medical doctor and she's focused on mental health. So I wanted her to come from the medical perspective. So all these women came together to talk on the subject of child sexual abuse and how to heal from it and how to own the story. And that was actually the beginning. That was actually the birth of Figure 8 Connect. That was actually the birth of Figure 8 Connect, because after we had that session, everyone was like, oh my God, I've never heard anything like this in my life. This is so good. This is so good. Oh my God, thank you so much for organizing this event. Thank you so much for putting this together. Like, everyone was so happy. Everyone was so excited. And I know a couple of months before that, I had also planned like a book reading and writing contest. I called it She Can Read. I was judging with my friends, Maimuna and Fejiru. So they were both like, the idea was that women were going to be reading books, and then not women, very women. Okay, yeah, young women. The age was like 16 to 35. So young women are going to be reading books, and then the book that we asked them to read, I think it was actually Becoming that we asked them to read. So at the end of the day, we had our top 3, and those top 3 people were rewarded with money. So yeah, they were giving money. I think first prize was like 10K. I can't really remember how much. Was it 10K? Was it 5K? Maybe it was 5K, 3K, 2K, maybe something like that. So everything altogether was like 10K for the top 3 prizes. So they were just supposed to read the book and then write an essay on, I think, the subject of owning it. So we had our top 3 prize winners. So after this 3-day conference, the question was, were we going to shut down this community? Because that in that event we had over 100 and I think over 180 or so, because everyone was like inviting their friends, everyone was like inviting their people. We're like, are we just going to shut down this community and ask all these women to go? I was like, no, that will not make any sense. Like, we can't just shut it down. Even the women were like, no, we can't shut it down. We have to keep it going. So that was actually the birth of Figure 8 Connect. That was how Figure 8 Connect started to exist. That was the beginning of it all. Quick break. I want to tell you about something really special. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, mentally drained, or like nobody really gets you, I know a space that might just change everything. It's called Mutation Monthly Series, a talk show I'm a part of where young people between 16 and 35 gather every last Sunday of the month to talk real talk about our mental health, our emotions, and healing in a world that doesn't always make room for it. It's completely free, super chill, and honestly feels more like a conversation with friends than an event. You can join us physically in Lagos at number 13 George's School Estate off College Road, Oba. Or if you're not in Lagos, no worries. We stream live on YouTube. Just search Mutation Monthly Series, subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on post notifications to get notified when we go live. If you want to register, head over to Team Mutation International on Instagram and tap the link in bio. Healing looks different for everyone. This might just be what yours looks like. So after the birth of Figure 8 Connect, we actually went on to do other things. Like when the group was existing, we had an event. Like when I say event, I mean like it was an online community. So most of this happened on the WhatsApp group. We had an event dedicated to people living with disabilities. That was triggered by my experience while being a part of CYBC Creative Youth Bootcamp in 2020 between September and October. So I invited two of my colleagues. I invited Elizabeth Adams, who is an albino advocate, and she does a lot of things. She's also an educationist, a be educator. How na they take talk am? She is an educator. She recently, Elizabeth actually became a Mandela Washington Fellow. Like I've been pulling this babe to like, I'm like, Elizabeth, please, you need to come on Only Needs podcast. But maybe one day she'll also be here and talk about some of her experiences. I also had Okpeyemi Adewale then. She's now Okpeyemi Ibinoba. She's also going to be on the podcast. You're going to see her on the podcast. She's a visually impaired person and an advocate for people living with disability as well. So I brought the both of them, and on different dates in November 2020, they did talks. We were talking about inclusion because before my CYBC experience, before I attended Creative Youth Bootcamp, I didn't really pay so much attention to people living with disabilities. So that was the conversation we had. They shared their stories on Figure 8 Connect. Then in January 2021, we had an event featuring my mama again, Onyechi Jewosu. We're talking about goal and value setting in 2021. In February 2021, we had a talk with Mr. Brighton Kocha. So it was going to be the first meal I was inviting to the community. He spoke about relationship, in the whole Valentine celebration. So we had a talk on relationship. And we also had in April, we had a conversation around concerts with my friend Chidera Ochoago, who is a feminist, a women rights activist, and a storyteller. She's a writer as well, and so much more. So we had this conversation in commemoration of Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. That was in April 2021. Then in September, I think between April and August, I lost my phone. And I lost my phone, and I was just focused on my studies. Because crazy thing is, all of these were happening while I was actively a student. I was a pharmacy student at the University of Port Harcourt, and I was still hosting all of these events, and I was still organizing this community. So by September 2021, I had already taken my temporary withdrawal. I was asking myself the question of how can I make money? How can I become financially independent? So that was the stage of my life I was at. So I hosted this conversation, Grow Girl Grow, talked about personal branding, talked about ways to make money and things like that. In September, we also had a conversation around females' reproductive health. We had Dr. Becky we talked about you and your vagina, since it was an all-women's community. In January again, we had conversations around resolution and goal setting. But beyond these events I have mentioned, the beauty of Figure 8 Connect was that we were a community where women could be themselves. We're a community irregardless of religion, irregardless of age, irregardless of socioeconomic status. What we had in common was that we were just women, and it was so beautiful. This community grew to over 250 women from across different countries of the world. We had people from South Africa, we had people from Kenya, we had people from Togo, other neighboring African countries. We had people even from as far as USA and the UK. It was so, so, so beautiful having all these women come together. The first guest I had on this podcast, Fola was also a member of Figure 8 Connect. And, we went through the story of how she called off her wedding. That experience, she was able to share it with us on the group firsthand before, she has never talked about this elsewhere. And, first talking about it on this podcast, she shared it with us on the community. And, when women had very tough decisions to make, they always came on the community. When they were struggling with something, they came on the community. We were sisters. And it was just so beautiful to see what women can do when they come together. Figure 8 Connect was such a very intimate and beautiful community. Even as the founder of Figure 8 Connect gave me so much support. It made me feel loved. It gave me friends. A lot of the women from Figure 8 Connect are still my friends till date. And yeah, that was what happened. So I know you'll be wondering, if the community was all of this and more to you, why did you shut it down? Okay, I'll tell you why the community was shut down. First of all, at the stage when I founded this community, first of all, I was a pharmacy student. Then after I took a break from pharmacy school, I started looking for ways I could make money, because all my life I've been doing social entrepreneurship. You can blame it on the fact that my parents are ministers of the gospel. So we've always been taught to be good people, to do good things for people. So I took up the Mother Teresa, nature, and I kept on doing good, and I wasn't making any money from any of the things I was doing. So I discovered that in March 2022 was when I lost my job. So I got my first remote job in November 2021. And then by March 2022, I got laid off. I can't exactly say if it was because of my being laid off, but I know I was no longer as committed to the community as I would want to be. I had bigger dreams for the community. Women were reaching out to me, telling me that they needed money for this, they needed money for that. And I did not have any money. I couldn't help them. And this was supposed to be a non-profit. And if it was a non-profit, we're supposed to have a little bit of support. A lot of women on the community too were not actively involved in the activities we're having. We had a few active ones, but most of them were just dormant. I also did not like that. I wanted a community that was very active as well. So there was just several factors. There were just so many things that that were just not adding up with the community. I wanted more for that community, and at the moment I was just doing the bare minimum. So I had to make an announcement on the community that, okay, we'll have to shut down this community, but we are not like shutting down never to start up again. We are going to be shutting down temporarily in order to re-strategize and structure this community better. Then I made a promise to my community members that I was going to stay in touch with them through my newsletter, which is my newsletter, Hey Sister, on Substack. So I promised them that I was going to stay in touch with them through my newsletter. So once every month, I'll give them an update of what's going on in my life. And if they had any stories too that they wanted to share, they could share as well. Because I started writing that newsletter in January 2022. So by March 2022, the community had to be shut down. A lot of the active community members were so heartbroken My phone is full of a lot of the messages they sent me. Please don't shut down the community. This community has been the best thing that happened to me. This community is such a blessing. Please don't shut it down. But honestly, I needed to figure myself out. I needed to make money. Like, I needed to make money since I had made up my mind that I wasn't going back to pharmacy school. Then what was going to be my next line of action? This was a free community. I wasn't making money from them. So what next did I have to do? I needed to find my feet. I needed to make money. I needed to think about myself first before other people. And that was why Figure Eight Connect was shut down, sadly. So one would think that with the fall of Figure Eight Connect, or would we call it the death of Figure Eight Connect, that by 2022, I will chill, because I said I was going to take a break to focus on making money, finding myself, and building a financially independent life. Someone would think that, okay, she's going to rest. Mba, I did not rest. In 2022 May, I founded yet another online community. It was called the School of Digipreneurs. Okay, so let's explain what that means. School is school now. We all know what school is, a place you learn. Then the word digipreneurs is a combination of two words, or was taken out of two words, digital and entrepreneur. So in 2022, I was at a stage in my life where I had decided I wasn't going back to pharmacy school, right? And if I wasn't going back to pharmacy school, I needed to figure out what else I wanted to do with my life. And what I figured out was that I wanted to build an online empire. I was watching a lot of YouTube videos. At that time, I had not started listening to podcasts, but yeah, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos. I was always online. And I saw what people were doing online. But most importantly, the single biggest influence I had in my life that time was my friend Fortune Ikechi. So Fortune was someone I was really, really close to back in Tit 4 days. We're building the community together. We're hosting events together. We're attending events together. And all of a sudden, Fortune's life took a 360 transformation when he got this high-paying remote job with an Austrian-based company as a software developer. And I was like, oh my God, like I could see how my friend's life transformed completely. I was like, I could have the same for myself, right? Even though I'm not a software developer or I'm not learning how to code, I know how to write. I've learned social media management. I've learned digital marketing. These are skills that could actually give me money. These are skills that I could actually use to build the life that I wanted to build for myself. These are skills that could actually give me the opportunity to become a digital entrepreneur. So I started the community as a way, because 2022, there was a 9 months long ASU strike. So for non-Nigerian listeners, Academic Staff Union of Universities. Yes, that's correct. Academic Staff Union. So all the academic staff of universities, their union. In Nigeria, it's very, very common for them to always go on strike. They will say, government is not doing what they have promised. Government is owing us this. Government is owing us that. So once the Academic Staff Union goes on strike, all the students cannot learn. Like, they cannot learn. So literally the universities are just empty and students are just lying around. And most of these strikes are very indefinite. Like the one that happened in 2022, it was 9 months long. So that means if someone was pregnant, you would have given birth to your baby before the strike could be called off. And actually, a lot of students did get pregnant that period. Story for another day. But it was a 9 months long strike. And within those 9 months, I saw how, because I was still living in Port Harcourt, I was still living in the student environment, I saw how most of my lodge members who were students were wasting their lives. Pardon my language, but that is really how it is in my brain. They were wasting their lives. They wake up in the morning, they will eat, they will smoke, they will have sex, they will eat, they will smoke, they will have sex. They will repeat the same cycle over and over and over again. First month, second month, third, because they didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't know when the strike was going to get called off. They didn't also want to go back to their parents' house. And there was me in my room who was actively working. At first, at the beginning of the strike, I was working with this Canadian-based company. After I got laid off, I still found job with other Nigerian companies, UK-based company. I was actively working. I was actively making money, even if it was not a lot, but I was still earning. And they were just there, wasting their life, really. And I thought about this, my lodge mates, and I was like, maybe they don't actually know that there are so many opportunities on the internet to make money. Maybe they are clueless about this. Maybe they don't know that with their smartphone and the internet, they can actually become digital entrepreneurs. And the beauty about being a digital entrepreneur is that you actually don't need an office. You don't need there are no rules. It's not as structured and as strict as what we see in the traditional entrepreneurship route. Anybody can become a digital entrepreneur. So I hosted the first event, which was called Life Begins After Graduation. Because I noticed most Nigerians, I don't know how it is in other countries, but for most Nigerians who go to university, they always feel like their life have not started if they've not graduated from uni. Your life starts after uni. And that was why I hosted the event, Life Begins After Graduation. And of course, there was no other person best I could invite apart from my friend, Fortune Ikechi. So Fortune Ikechi did the talk, brought people's attention to the fact that they could actually make money, they could learn digital skills, and they could become digital entrepreneurs. So that also led to the birth of School of Digipreneurs. And after that, we will go on to exist for another 2 years, I think. Was it 2023 or 2022? I think, yeah, it was 2024 I shut down the community. So yes, we went on to exist for another 2 years. From May 2022 to May 2024, School of Digipreneurs was very, very active. We're hosting events, we're having series of events, we're inviting people. Since I was now in that space, I had a lot of friends who were digital entrepreneurs as well. People had learned digital skills. I was always posting job updates. I was always posting information. I was always posting details. We had the fireside chat. We had, oh my God, my dream for School of Digipreneurs was so lofty. So lofty. And members of the community were very appreciative of what I was building and what I was creating. But once again, the same things popped up. The fact that most people were not active, the fact that, once again, I wasn't making money from that community, and it was taking a lot of my time. I had bigger dreams for the community. I wanted us to host, there was a time I had a dream of School of Digipreneurs life in Lagos. I wanted us to host a physical event and all of that. But after a while, after that 2 years, I was like, okay, we need to take a break. So yes, so in May 2024, the community was shut down. Once again, a lot of my community members were so heartbroken. I also grew the community to over 200 members as well, which is really cute. Yeah, so they were so heartbroken, but I needed to put myself first, and it is just what it is. Let's face it, in today's job market, talent alone isn't enough. You need the right tools to position yourself for the opportunities you deserve. That's where I come in. I offer bespoke career branding services, tailored CVs, compelling cover letters, optimized LinkedIn profiles, creative portfolios, job search support, and interview preparation that gets you results. Are you fresh out of school, switching career paths, relocating overseas? I've helped people in your exact shoes secure life-changing opportunities, and you are no exception. You can go for a one-off service or choose a full package that transforms you from a job seeker to a job magnet. Are you ready to stand out? Send an email to godsdelightagro99@gmail.com or WhatsApp me on +234 909 378 1187 and let's get started. So I don't know if I had mentioned this earlier, but one platform I started using a lot after I dropped out of pharmacy school in 2021 was LinkedIn, because I was looking for a job as a writer. I needed to make money. I had made the decision that I wasn't going to go back to my parents' house, so I needed to survive. I was like, what? So I had LinkedIn was a place that you could get jobs. So I got very active on LinkedIn. And when you get on LinkedIn, there's a whole lot you will see. You will see a lot of people trying to grow on LinkedIn. And I saw how beautiful the platform was, and I began to wonder why people were not talking about this platform enough. I started hosting classes about LinkedIn optimization webinars. That was when I had also started my CV writing and cover letter writing services. So I was doing career branding services for people. And I thought about it. A lot of people do not have good information about LinkedIn and they want to leverage this platform. LinkedIn was a very great place for people who wanted to build their careers, like 9 to 5ers, people who were trying to build a personal brand, people who were business owners. They could use LinkedIn to generate leads for their business. So I decided to start the unofficial side of LinkedIn, aka we called it the LinkedIn Club. So the LinkedIn Club was supposed to be helping young people with their career development. If you're a new school, you just graduated from uni, maybe you're already a early career person or mid-level career or even a senior level executive, the LinkedIn Club was supposed to be that place for you to connect with other like-minded people and build your career. We're going to be talking about the platform LinkedIn and other surrounding things that have to do with career development. So it was totally different from the dream of, School of Digipreneurs, because the truth is not everyone will be a digital entrepreneur. Some will have to build their careers in 9 to 5. And that was the whole essence of the LinkedIn Club. I went official. I had the graphic designer. He designed the logo. He designed cover photos, designed the brand identity and everything. And community started in August 23, and I was actively running School of Digipreneurs and actively running the LinkedIn Club at the same time. So I had 2 different communities I was running, trying to get volunteers who will be involved and invested in the vision. It wasn't easy. Well, we did have a couple of events, but of all the communities I've started, I would say the drive for the LinkedIn Club wasn't as deep rooted as Figure Eight Connect and School of Digipreneurs. So it wasn't so long. It was the community that lived the shortest. By May 2024, when I was shutting down School of Digipreneurs, I also shut down the LinkedIn Club. So that was how I started and failed 3 different times. I started Figure Eight Connect, I shut it down. I started School of Digipreneurs, I shut it down. I started the LinkedIn Club, I shut it down. So truth is, founding these online communities actually gave me a lot. They might not have lasted as long as I wanted them to last, but I developed a lot of skills by running these communities. This is 2025, so I've been running communities since 2016 in person and then running communities virtually since 2020. So technically, I have like 9 years of experience in community management. That's like so crazy. It was when I was building my LinkedIn presence that I discovered that community management was actually a skill that people paid for. Like, people hired community managers to run communities, and these are things I have done on my own. I've hosted events, I've planned all of these things, I've brought people together just on my own. So starting these communities gave me skills that nothing else would have given me. Starting these communities gave me friends that I would not have made if I did not start these communities. Starting these communities also developed my leadership skills, because trust me, the hardest thing in life is actually leading people, is actually managing people. In all of these communities, I've always tried to like have a team, have people I brought together that would manage things. Sometimes you say, okay, you are in charge of Monday, so thing, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of that, and they will just disappoint you. And as a leader, you just have to learn how to hold your cool, how not to burst out and get angry. Starting these communities taught me a lot about event planning, managing events, virtual events, how to come up with ideas, because I was always thinking on my feet. Starting these online communities Starting these online communities and getting the feedbacks from members of the communities taught me that you could actually create something of value, even if it does not last. Like, even it doesn't have to last forever for it to be something of value. Like, it simply just gave me that outlet that, okay, you can actually create something of value and it will still touch lives. It does not have to last forever for it to be something of value. And so many more lessons that having these communities and starting these communities taught me. It showed me the importance of communities in the lives of people. If there's something you're trying to do, find a community of like-minded people. Find a community of like-minded people that are already doing it and watch how your life is going to transform. It gave me friends, it gave me community. It taught me so much about myself, even as a person. And yeah, that was what having those communities gave me. So if you are a creator or a builder or a visionary, it's very important that you learn not to attach your identity to your projects, because sometimes your projects might fail and it does not mean you are failed as a person. You might start something with big dreams and you're unable to follow that dream to the very end, because for each of these communities I started, every single one of them, I had one big dream for them. And I did not attain the goals for Tit4. I had very big dreams for Tit4. For Figure 8 Connect, the same. For School of Digipreneurs and every other one. But the truth is, every time your project fails, it's actually preparing you for the next assignment or the next thing that is ahead. All of the skills I have picked up over the years, from Tit4 to School of Digipreneurs to the actual truth is that right now I'm seeing more of the bigger picture, because every single thing I've done is somehow linked to youth development, is somehow linked to development of young people, and it all comes under the umbrella of Team Mutation International, which is an organization I run now. We are the conveners of Mutation series. It all makes sense to have a community for young people 16 to 35, a community that is all about supporting teens, a community that's all about supporting women, a community that's all about supporting, providing emotional support, a community that is passionate about making young people into digital entrepreneurs. Like, this could be like different facets of the one big community. That's the way I see it nowadays. That's under the Team Mutation International umbrella. Every single one of these things will also still come into play. It's okay to stop when something no longer aligns. Trust me, for each one of these communities, for from Figure 8 Connect to School of Digipreneurs, I was burnt out. I was extremely burnt out, and that was why I had to shut them down. I was burnt out, and it just did not feel like the right thing to do at that time. I needed to take a break and rethink everything and think of a new approach to come at it. The truth is, if I wasn't burnt out, if I wasn't trying to do everything at the same time, I wouldn't have experienced, I wouldn't have had to shut down these communities. It's very important that we know that building without burnout is a real win. If it's possible to build a community, it is possible to spearhead a project without you having to burn out. And then most times, people think that pausing something automatically means you have failed. But sometimes you just need to pause, and that pause that you did is actually a sign of wisdom. So if I were to start an online community today, what would I do differently in 2025? First thing first, I'm going to prioritize resting. I need to structure the community in such a way that it doesn't burn me out. I need to prioritize rest. I need to put in rest as one of the things in my routine, right? So that I don't deplete myself, because this was a very big mistake I made. Imagine when I had the LinkedIn club and I had School of Digipreneurs, I was concurrently running the both of them. And this was aside my regular client work I was doing. I was helping people manage their social media pages. I was helping clients write. I was helping clients run adverts. I was helping clients manage emails, and I was still running 2 active communities with over 200 members in each. That was crazy. So, another very important thing is to define success. What does success mean to me? Is success all about the numbers? Is success all about the quantity or the quality? That's the question. Is it about having a community of 200 people, or having a small knit community of people who, you know, are very impacted by the work that you do? Is it by hosting event every week, or by hosting just one solid event once in a month that is of very good value, and that is a talk of the town, or a talk in the mouths of many? That's the question. Another thing I would do differently is I would try to build with others and not alone. In all of these things, in Figure 8 Connect, I was, being the one person. I try to build communities honestly, but it wasn't easy. So I think what I should have done differently was try to read books on leadership, try to read books on how to be a good leader, how to influence people, that kind of thing, so that I know how to attract people into the work that I do and sustain them. Because if you're trying to run alone, you are going to be burnt out. Okay? Then one thing else I'm going to do if I'm doing this again, I will have to create space for community and for myself. Like I wouldn't, because in most of those times I was allowing the community I had engulf my entire personality, my entire being. So instead of that, I need to create space both for the community and for myself. Again, I'm going to focus on depth and not noise. Like I said, instead of saying, oh, I'm going to host events once every week, twice in a month, 4 times every weekend. No, what if we just focus on one event per month? At least that way we can use the entire month and plan towards it. Focusing more on the depth and not noise, not doing it can be hard. But trust me, it's better to do less and move on a very slow pace than to do so much and burn out along the way. And this joins my next point, which is focusing on longevity and not intensity. In the next 10 years, do I still want to be doing this? If I want to be doing this, what's the pace I'm going to take to make sure that in the next 10 years I still have the energy to do this thing that I'm currently doing? That is a question that I should ask myself if I'm doing this in 2025. So if you're someone who is listening to this and you've been so scared of shutting down something that you've started and you feel like you are a failure, I just want to tell you that you're not a failure. Sometimes bravery is actually discovering that something is not working out and trying to make changes, right? So don't be scared. If you feel like, oh, this thing I've started with very big dreams, I'm not actually attaining the goals or I'm burnt out, you could actually take a break. When you take a break, there's a lot you're going to learn. You're going to see a lot of mistakes you've made and you're going to adjust, you're going to make amends, and you're going to become better at what you are doing. So please don't be scared. Don't think that taking a pause is a sign of weakness. Please do not do that. You are not a failure. The mere fact that you had an idea and you executed it, if it's for a month, 2 months, a year, couple of years, and you had to shut it down, the mere fact that you did not only idealize, like you did not just have that idea, but you actually executed it, it's already a very, very big sign of you being a brave person. So please don't get stuck in something that you are tired of, something that you are already burnt out. This is something I have learned. And don't think you are a failure. Don't think it is a sign of weakness. Okay? All right. So if you've listened to this episode so far, I really want to thank you for listening to the Owning It podcast. And I would love to hear your story. If you're someone who is a visionary, if you're someone who is a builder, you are a creator, and you've done something and you've gotten to the time where you failed or you had to shut it down for a while or a brand, I would really, really love to hear your story. Or you're someone who is currently in a place where you're thinking, should I shut down? Should I not shut down? Should I take a break? Should I not take? I would really love to hear your story. Feel very free to send us a DM on Instagram at owningitpod_ and on Twitter at owningitpod, and an email to at owningitpodcast1@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you next week. Until then, I'm God's Light Ago. See you next week. Hey, real quick before we end, if you've been listening and thinking, maybe one day I'll tell my story, this is your sign. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to be honest. Honest is a space for real people, real voices, and real stories. So if you've lived through something that changed you, grew you, hurt you, or freed you, let's talk. If you know someone whose story you find inspiring, an African woman you would love us to invite, tell us in the comments below. Email us at owningitpodcast1@gmail.com or send us a DM on Instagram at owningitpod_. We're waiting. The world needs your story, not a perfect one, a true one. Like this episode, share with your friends and family, comment the moments that got you the most or the lessons you've learned. Rate us a 5-star so that the episode gets recommended to more people. I'll see you in another episode.